Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Gear of the Week show here on the Golf Monthly YouTube channel. This week we're talking about some new golf balls from Mizuno, some really interesting irons from Justin Rose, as well as a debate on how to choose the right golf ball, or if that even matters at all. Stick around for that toward the end of the episode. As always, I'm joined by Joel Tadman and Neil Tappin. Tappers, good to see you back this week. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, Dan. Nicely rested, week off, ready to go.
Yes, you
not hit an awful lot of golf products over the last week, but I've got some stuff to talk about, I think.
Excellent. Well, you look rejuvenated. Joel, how are you? No week off. Not looking rough, but just no week off for you.
No week off. Always at the grind, but I'm fine. I'm good, thank you.
Good. And with Neil's return means you're back on quiz question duties. I'm gonna blow my own trumpet. I thought mine last week was an absolute rip snorter, and Joel got it right again. So no pressure.
Well, actually, I've got two. So, do you want to go easy or hard, or do you want to do both? Maybe we do one at the end.
Let's start easy, and we'll go hard at the end. Okay.
So I'm going to start with the easy one. And apologies to anyone who's watching this who doesn't know the answer to this. Maybe feels like I'm not trying to do anyone down. No. But for people who are producing golf equipment related content a lot, you really need to know the answer to this. I'll be very disappointed if you don't.
Pressure.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So in golf equipment, we hear the term COR used a lot. But what does it stand for? Joel's just sitting there very confidently. So Joel knows it. He's smiling like a Cheshire cat. Dan, on the other hand, looks as if...
Oh, this could be the end of my career is flashing before my eyes, Tappers. This isn't great. COR. I honestly don't know.
No,
I don't even want to try and come up with an educated answer because I think I'll look even sillier.
This is unfair on Dan because he doesn't kind of test hardware. He just tests shoes and trolleys and things like that.
Is there COR in shoes? I don't think there is.
Well, that's a bold claim. I don't know if that's true, Dan.
Maybe one fan can.
Also, you read a lot about this stuff. So this is very disappointing to hear that you don't know the answer.
Drink my coffee quietly.
Do you want me to put you out of your misery, Dan?
The floor is yours.
So it's the coefficient of restitution.
And what does it mean? What's it refer to?
Does it not refer to the spring-like effect off the face? I get confused with that and characteristic time, which are similar terms, kind of that refer to similar things, but I'm pretty sure it's around that kind of area.
It's to do with essentially how long the ball is allowed to stay on the face before it
That's right.
So COR.
And that was the easy one. Yeah.
Easy.
Okay, great. Well, I'm just going to make a note of that, by the way, everybody, for next time. I did American studies. I'm a humanities guy, not a science guy. It goes over my head. I should know that. We'll come back we'll have the harder one at the end of the episode, to stick around for that, and I'll embarrass myself even more. Before we get started, I found a really interesting TikTok. I am on TikTok, and it's not just a Gen Z platform where people dance, and useful for golf stuff as well. So I saw this really interesting TikTok. I'm going to show Neil and Joel now for the first time, and you guys sat at home, and we'll chat about it afterward.
You ever wonder if your club's going to get over the tree? So I don't know where I heard this from, but someone showed me once. You literally just step on the face of the club, like use the angle. So I got a pitching wedge here. Okay, looks like that's going to go over the tree. I take an 8-iron. Looks like it's going to be kind of close. So I'm going to go with the pitching wedge. I don't know if it's legal, but someone told me it seems to make sense. Let's see if I get over. Got over.
Right, so that was the par train on TikTok, and I have never ever seen that before. Some of the comments are quite funny, saying, thanks for this, I broke my 8-iron stepping on it, etc., etc. I'd never seen it. Is it nonsense, chaps? Had either of you seen that before?
So this is really interesting because I used to do this when I played golf. Yeah, like genuinely.
Did you?
And so I used to do it, and it used to work all right. And then I heard someone tell me that it's nonsense, like they're not actually correlated because of the different angles of attack and stuff like that. But from when I've done it, it's been pretty accurate. Like genuinely, like the trajectory used to roughly follow where the shaft was pointing. So when I was younger, I used to use it to go through gaps in trees. I used to kind of judge whether or not I could get through certain branches. Genuinely did used to do it. This was a long time ago. I don't do it anymore.
You should do the next time we have a Golf Monthly day, just do that unannounced. And I think I think you'll get laughed at. I've never done it. I found it fascinating. I feel like it's most useful if you do it for one of them where it's really close and you're like, is it or isn't it a wedge, or can I get it a bit further with 8-iron? You know, when you're miles away and you want the extra yardage. But Tapper's thoughts?
I'm really poor at that sort of thing as well. Just fairway bunkers, thinking this is fine, I can get out here with an 8-iron, and then proceeding to absolutely smash it straight into the face. I've seen that before used by some of our coaches on instruction shoots where they're trying to give people a feel for the sort of trajectories of different clubs where they've used that demonstrated, but it's more of a kind of like an instruction thing as opposed to actually doing it while you're on the golf course. I think he's saying in that video, I'm not sure if this is legal or not.
That's one for Jez Elwood, I think, our rules guru. See if that kind of use of the golf club equipment is allowed. It probably, right? You can point your club wherever you want. You can kick it around. I'm definitely going to try that next time. Maybe not now at the minute in the winter because my club will get all soggy and wet. Maybe in the summer, I'll give that a go. But if you've tried that at home, let us know, because I was genuinely fascinated by it. It just popped up on my feed last night and I thought it was awesome. So yeah, that's a bit of fun. Definitely going to give that a go. Okay, well, let's get cracking then. Some new equipment for this week that's been launched and that we've reviewed on the website. Joel, come to you with some Mizuno golf balls. Now, not the brand you normally run to for golf balls, but perhaps one that's not given the respect it deserves.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So Mizuno just launched or relaunched their tour balls. So their premium golf balls, RB Tour and RB Tour X, which were originally launched 3 years ago. And this new iteration is aiming to kind of rectify some of the shortfalls that people found with that golf ball. Don't get it wrong; those were very good golf balls, but they probably weren't as durable as they needed to be. And so they've done a lot of testing. They've gone through a lot of prototypes, apparently 99 different prototypes with this new version. And they've done an extra year of testing to make sure it's as durable as it needs to be. So it's on sale now in the US. It's not coming to the UK until February 2023. But there's some interesting kind of design quirks within it. There's only 272 dimples on it, which is quite low for a tour premium golf ball when you consider the Pro V1's got 388. So the dimples will probably appear a little bit larger. It's interesting for me. The RB Tour and RB Tour X were good performing golf balls, but they just didn't really have that look of a premium, expensive, kind of all-round golf ball. They looked a bit. The color was a bit dull, and the dimples just didn't have that premium look to it. So it'd be interesting to see what these balls actually look like. From the pictures I've seen, they look a lot better, a lot closer to what you expect from a premium ball like a TP5 or a Pro V1.
And what are they coming in at price-wise? They sort of are they tour price, or is it, with it being Mizuno, can they come down a little bit and try and attract some people into their golf balls?
Yeah, I think they would need to be slightly under where Pro V1 is, just to try and get people into that brand. But so yeah, $43 a dozen, with everyone around $50. They're slightly under. Neil, you've tested the RB Tour X in particular, and you're a big fan of it.
I liked it a lot. Yeah, it was particularly, I think it was quite long. Actually, in fact, I think I have my launch monitor data in front of me from that particular test. Bear with me, caller. Average carry with that RB Tour X was 288 for me, which is long, actually, very long. And it spun nicely in the short game. So it kind of had for me the kind of two ends of the bag nailed down that I'd be looking for. I did notice it scuffing up a bit actually when I tested that original ball, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And testing against some other products and that kind of, because the previous version of the product, by the time I tested it, the sort of street price had come down quite a lot. So it was in that kind of mid-price range bracket. And up against other options in that part of the market, I thought that it wasn't too bad on the durability front. If they can improve that part of it and still retain a lot of those performance bits that I liked of the original version, then I think that it will be a product worthy of consideration for sure.
Excellent, nice one. Well, I hadn't heard about that. Keep your eyes out for that when it comes in the US now, UK February. Correct, Joel? Yes,
that's right. Yeah,
good, wonderful. Should we stick with golf balls then on some new releases? Neil, you've got some new balls from a brand I've not heard of. I'm not sure many of our viewers will have heard of. OnCore, not like OnCore, like a band comes on for 3 more songs at the end. OnCore, like OnCore. Talk me through these.
So this was a brand that I was unfamiliar with until about the middle of last year. And it's one of those where you can buy the products directly from their website, and they offer a sort of range of urethane covered golf balls that are not that sort of premium price product that you expect to be used on tour. And this one we've actually already reviewed on the Golf Monthly website. One of our colleagues reviewed this and gave it a really positive review. So I'm looking forward to finding out just how good this golf ball is, because I tested another one of their urethane covered golf balls, and it was very good indeed. Now this one comes in for $30 per dozen. The Avant 55, this is a little bit cheaper. So this is $20 per dozen, and it's designed for sort of beginner level golfers, slower swing speeds, 2-piece Serlin blend 55 compression type golf ball. You get the picture. So 2 different types of golf ball, and I'm sort of quite interested in this part of the market. It's growing. It's this growing area of golf balls that are not as expensive as the premium tour played balls, but that do promise quite a lot in terms of performance.
But Neil, you've tested an awful lot of these D2C kind of mid-priced golf balls. I mean, are they comparable with tour played balls, especially if they've got urethane covers?
On the whole, there are some compromises. Often, in my experience, as a generalization, the compromise can be on durability. It's just how quickly they tend to scuff up. But yes, they perform well. The good ones spin in the short game, but they don't spin like absolute crazy. But then when you get to the top end, they also don't spin like crazy at the top end, and they give you plenty of distance. And that the ones that I've found are best are the ones that have struck that balance really well.
What is mid-price now, Tappers, would you say? What is a mid-price golf ball, and what is the sort of what's the top end of that? And then you go into tour, $40, £40 a dozen. And what's the bottom end where it is the ball does suffer when you do pay £15 to £20 a dozen? Where's that pinch point?
Yeah, I would say that for mid-price, I think you're looking at around about $35 per dozen. There are some that we tested that were up at £40, which is now, thanks to the exchange rate, very similar to what you pay in dollars. So between $30 and $40, I would say, is mid-price. In terms of pinch point, it's different for different people. This is why people need to do their own research, their own testing, because what really works for one player might be slightly different for somebody else. But I'd say that on the whole, it is interesting, and it's an interesting part of the market. Read the piece. Read
the piece. I'll make sure to link it, Tapper, so everyone can see that piece you put a lot of work into. I will talk more golf balls at the end. It's almost become a golf ball special, this, actually, by accident. Finally, then on new gear, this popped up on Halloween, I think. Justin Rose posted this on his Instagram. Some sort of custom irons, Joel. Talk us through these. These scream Justin Rose, if you know what I mean. And the Adam Scotts of the world, who are sort of like past all their equipment contracts now and just doing what the heck they want.
Well, they scream Justin Rose because they've got the JR logo on them, which is very cool. I mean, we're seeing a trend towards quite a lot of tour players going off piste with their irons and having custom sets. So you mentioned Adam Scott there. Obviously, Rory's got his Raw's Proto irons and TaylorMade. Justin Thomas has got his prototype Titleist blades as well. So we're seeing a lot of golfers on tour kind of having very specific needs from their irons, and then the manufacturer's creating something bespoke for them. And this is another example of that. It's been confirmed online that these irons that Justin Rose put a picture of on his Instagram story of are made by Miura, who have obviously, they're a Japanese forging house. They've made Adam Scott's custom irons. They've also done some for Jack Nicklaus as well. And Justin Rose is a funny one because obviously he was with Honma, then he split in 2020, and since then he's used a ridiculous number of different irons. I'm
just reading through this piece now. So since 2020, he's had P730s, Mizuno MP20s, TaylorMade P7MC, and Titleist 620 MB irons. That's 4 sets.
And Mizuno Pro 221s as well.
Jeez, that's 5 in 2 years. God, busy man in the old fitting bet, isn't he?
He has very particular needs when it comes to his blades. And actually, the hilarious thing about Justin Rose is that he turned up at Wentworth this year in the BMW PGA with the TaylorMade P730s and the original TaylorMade M2 driver from like 2017 or something. So while he's a tinkerer, he clearly has some old favourites that he goes back to, and that was a classic example of that.
I really like that, Joel, because it sort of speaks to what a lot of regular golfers are like. It's like you've got your favourites, you've got the things that you've played really well with in the past that you tend to just sort of go back to over time. He's a really interesting. I've done a What's in the Bag interview with him before, really thoughtful, intelligent, knows what he likes. He's one of these people that I think the more that you speak to him about it, the more you realize he knows an awful lot about all of this, all of this stuff and what he wants. So a good person to follow on the old sort of what's in the bag front, I think, at the moment, because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on.
And you would think with all the different blades that he uses, there isn't much difference between, how they look and how they perform. But clearly he is very particular and can observe subtle changes in the shaping or the differences in the feel and the solidness of the face or whatever it is. He can clearly detect very different nuances between them, and that's why he chops and changes a lot.
Very, very impressive. That says pro.
Yeah, but that's pro on top of pros. Some pros have like, just get the clubs and get on with it. He's like, I really know what I'm on about. So it'll be interesting to see these on tour. And yeah, that JR logo is pretty cool. You got to be a good golfer to do that. I couldn't rock up with DP forged into the back of my eyes. I don't think that would go down particularly well. Okay, right. Let's move on, shouts to some stuff that we're testing at the minute, or that we've tested over the last year. We just want to shout out and talk about and tell you guys why we love it so much. John, I'm going to come to you on this. You've been using the Full Swing Kit launch monitor, which I've used in person. I don't have one to hand to test, but I thought they're pretty cool as well. So do you want to explain to people what it is and why you love it so much?
Yeah. So this is a launch monitor, as you've mentioned, and it comes in at that kind of mid-priced an area similar to Foresight Sports' new GC3, so it's around about $4,500, and yeah, I've had a sample, been using it all year, and I just like how easy it is to use. Like, you just literally plonk it down behind the ball, pair it with your iPad, and hit away. And the app interface is, I think, the thing that really brings it to life. You've got some really cool dispersion graphics and data tables, and has a camera built in which will record your swing with every shot that you hit. So, because sometimes when you're hitting shots on a launch monitor and the numbers change, it can be difficult to know why the numbers have changed. So if you're able to pair numbers from shots with a video of your swing, you might be able to see why the numbers have changed slightly based on the difference in your swing.
Does it record every swing then? Every single one, then you can go back and go, that swing gave me those numbers, those metrics.
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can have a visual representation of why those numbers have changed, which I think is useful to help you understand how subtle differences in your swing, if you can see them, how that affects the numbers and what you need to do to optimize those.
It's interesting in this part of the market, because obviously £4,500 is a lot of money, but that is mid-price in this section, in this part of the market. And you've got something like the R10 or the PRGR that are like less than £1,000, like less than £500 even. Joel, do you think there's going to be much takeaway with this from golfers' perspectives for something a little bit higher price-wise that is a lot more intuitive? It's got the screen on it, it's got a lot more to it. Are people really searching for that, do you think, at the minute?
I think it's tricky, because those ones that you mentioned are actually pretty good for the price. And for like the majority of casual golfers, getting just very basic feedback on your swing or what the ball's doing is enough to be able to make club changes or swing technique changes or whatever. But I think the extra detail, more people, I think, who've got money to spend would benefit from having the extra detail. And also, if you're putting simulators in your house, you might want to upgrade into something that's going to give you a bit more reliability and a few more data parameters that you can use. And obviously, Full Swing is an example of one that you can use as a simulator as well. So you can pair it with simulator software to create a simulator experience in your house if you've got that set up at home. So I think you do get a bit more for what you pay for. Yeah, you get what you pay for with launch monitors. But my test, this is a Doppler radar one. It's kind of one of the more accurate ones that I've seemed to have tested recently.
Yeah, I like them a lot. I like I've got the R10 like we spoke about a few episodes ago. I think that's really cool. Learn a lot about your game from them. Right, I'm going to talk about golf balls, because it's just become the golf ball special somehow. I'm a very lucky individual that doesn't have to pay for many of his golf things anymore, because I get to test a lot of stuff. However, I had to go and buy some golf balls the other day, and I went to my local American golf shop and picked up some balls. And I'm really bad with golf balls. I pick up whatever's, not cheapest, like, I'm not paying £10 a dozen, but maybe on offer that I've not tried before either. So I picked up some of the Wilson Triad golf balls. And I had a few in my bag, but I needed to pick up a dozen because I was playing JCB Golf Club Clang last week and thought I might disperse a few around the Staffordshire countryside. I only lost one in the end on the 17th, gutted. You know, the island
In the
green.
water.
Difficult
Oh,
hole. Very
well,
difficult
we
hole.
played off the backs at 250. I just hit
It
this like
didn't make the
pull
carry.
hook. No, yeah. Yeah, Scotland drive. I didn't make the carry. No, pull hook into the middle of the pond. So I only lost one, which I was pretty chuffed about. Anyway, the golf ball. Loved it, Tappers, and I read your review afterwards on it as opposed to before because I just picked it up without looking at it.
What did you like about it, Dan?
The feel, I think, and this is back to your review. The feel off the putter was great. It was really nice around the greens. I don't create a lot of spin on my wedge shots anyway, so that doesn't bother me too much. But I was hitting these perfect little fadey drives all day, low spin, you know, on a day where it was quite cold and wet. I needed all that as much carry distance as I could get. And I felt like I got it from it. I felt really confident with it after those, 17 holes with it. And then I played the 18th and another one, obviously. But I loved it. So I just wanted to hear your views on it as well, because it was £34.99 for the dozen, which I think is where I like to spend. I don't want to spend 50, so I will spend that. And I thought the performance was really, really good for it, basically. So I just want to give it a bit of a shout out and ask you, Tappers, what you thought of it in a bit more detail.
That is an example of what Joel mentioned earlier about a mid-price ball that has the look and the finish of a premium golf ball. So as you put it down on a tee peg, you think, right, I'm playing a really good quality golf ball here.
What is it about balls that do that?
Sounds a bit unnecessary.
But it's like it's the font or like the sheen of it. I can't describe it. Is it the color of the white? Is it a certain type of white? Because they nailed that, I thought.
I think it's a bit of everything, isn't it? It's a bit like the size of the dimples, the shape of the dimples, the font, the writing. You're right. The logo, the script, the side stamp, the finish, the color of the white as well. Sometimes they're quite a brilliant white, and sometimes they're quite a dull white. I think it all combines, and you just have that feeling as you're looking down at this is a quality golf ball, and I would agree the Wilson Triad looks like it is.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it wasn't maybe not the longest ball I hit last year, but it definitely excelled for me on that putting. I do like. I'm a bit of a sucker for a ball that feels soft around the greens, actually, and especially, I guess you're playing JCB with them. You know, greens there are going to be fast. They're going to be fairly firm, and a golf ball like that just feels fantastic off the putter face. So I really liked it from that point of view. Now, did you? I don't suppose you tried the raw version of that golf ball, no?
That was my next question. I was trying to find it. They didn't have it because I did fancy giving it a go again after watching your review of it. What are your thoughts on that? Tell people what it is first and what the difference is, and then what are your thoughts on having tested it? Because it's pretty.
Yeah,
it
doesn't have the paint finish on it, so it's what they call a raw finish. And the idea is that anytime, I think their sort of spiel on it is that when you add a paint finish, you're adding an extra bit that's sort of slightly unnecessary that can maybe affect performance. If you take it back to its kind of like raw finish, then you get that kind of raw performance that the golf ball was made to create. The downside would be that it would scuff up, I think, a bit more.
Yeah,
and that's something that I think I noticed. And it does look a bit different. It definitely looks a bit more dull. It looks a bit more pale. But I feel like it would.
Sorry, I feel like it would take away that premium feel and look we were just talking about.
There's something I quite liked about it.
Was it still good?
The latter times, I quite liked it. So yeah, but if I was purchasing myself, I would go for the standard version.
Yeah,
I think.
But that I think brings us nicely onto our debate this week, which is maybe more of a discussion, is how to choose the right golf ball. And I'm probably the worst example of this. And I said before we came in to record, I will buy a dozen of whatever I fancy that day. So the other day it was the Wilson Triad. Before it was the Bridgestone Tour X, I think, over the summer. And this isn't the right way to go about it. However, I don't know what the right ball is for me, really. So I think that's a discussion we could have as well, is about how an average golfer like me can actually understand the characteristics of my swing and the way I strike the ball to then go and buy the right one. So should we start with that? How would you go about choosing the right golf ball for your game with not much technology to hand, just something that could really give you that extra little bit of help if you need it in whatever part of the game?
Yeah, you started this bit, Dan, in the intro by saying, is it even important to find the right golf ball? And I would say that it is very important. If you find one that you know is right for you, that performs really well in all areas of the golf bag, it will make a difference. Sounds a bit like a public service announcement, yeah. But I genuinely think that that is true, and that when you find the right golf ball for you, you'll notice, you'll get that good performance in all areas. I think I would start with the price, actually. So in some ways, you're not wrong, because I think that everyone will have their own budget to spend on a golf ball. So why not start there? figure out how much you want to spend per dozen, and then work out which types of golf ball are right for you. Now, I think I would probably start with the short game performance, making sure that I'm using something that I felt confident with around the greens, good feel, good control when hitting sort of short shots, probably work my way up. But having said that, that's not to say that I think that the driver end of the bag is the least important. I don't. I think the driver end of the bag is incredibly important when it comes to finding the right golf ball. But I think if you find something that works well at the bottom end, then it's a case of checking that you're getting the sort of performance at the top end that you think is right for you. And the only way to do that really is some testing.
I really like what you said there about starting with price, because for me, again, if it's got a 4 in front of it, price-wise, pounds or dollars, I'm not going to touch it. So 40 and above. So that rules out a certain section of the market, which I'm happy to ignore. Do you know what I mean? I think people shouldn't worry about that and think, oh, what if that's the ball? Just ignore it if you don't want to spend that much. So I like that a lot. That's a good little tip.
Yeah, each of the brands offers a lot of products at different price points.
Exactly.
Joel, what were you about to add?
There's so many things to think about. I agree. Like, starting with price is the right thing to do, because whatever your ceiling price is, there's going to be a decent option from somebody in those different brackets as you move up. I agree. Starting with the short game would be the way to go. And then experimentation, experiment with a few in and around that price point that you want to be investing in regularly, that you can afford on a regular basis, depending on how many you lose, and working out which one is right for you, and then just investing in it and committing to it and trying to practice with it as much as you can around the green, so you understand, or you build up that feedback loop as to how it reacts around the green when you're chipping with it, when you're putting it with it, how fast it comes off the putter face. And over time, you'll have a better awareness, and that should help your scoring. It's when you start chopping and changing with different balls at different price points, you don't have that consistency. You start to second guess yourself, confuse yourself over what the ball's going to do when it lands. So pick a ball, experiment around that price point, pick your favourite, and invest in it and stick with it.
Yeah, we had a really good piece. Now, I can say this because I didn't write it. A really good piece by one of our writers, Martin Hopley, that went out a couple of weeks ago about the 7 signs that you're using the wrong golf balls.
I'm just looking at it now. Yeah, this is sort of almost like a checklist that you've been speaking about to try and find that right ball.
All the things that you should be looking out for. Are your drives ballooning up into the sky? Are they falling out of the air? And there's a few different things to think about. Certainly when it comes to that top end of the bag, you really want to make sure that those 2 things that I've talked about there are not happening. You want to feel like you're getting maximum bang for your buck. When you strike the ball well, it's staying in the air, it's staying hit, it's offering good carry yardages. If you feel like you're hitting a lot of shots that are just looping up and getting affected by the wind and not really giving you much value, then maybe it could be a driver issue. For sure, it could be a driver issue, but also possibly an easier fix, a less expensive fix in the shorter term might be to think about what golf ball you use. Maybe a lower spinning golf ball might be right. And then the other thing to think about is the look. And I know we've already talked about the look of the golf ball, but I'm talking about the color. There's so many different color options. And I was I played at a Legends Tour Pro-Am playing a few weeks ago, where I hit one of the worst golf shots ever hit, but we won't talk about that now.
No. Hold on. You can't do that and then not expect to tell.
Whereas my opening tee shot, which very nearly went between my legs. It was just horrendous. Wow. I wasn't feeling overly nervous. I wasn't feeling and I've warmed up on the range, hit it nicely, and I hit and everyone looked at me as if to say, "What on earth was that?" I didn't really ever recover. The embarrassment never.
That's fairly traumatizing. I kind of wish I hadn't asked. I kind of wish I hadn't probed. Now I didn't think it was gonna be that bad. Jeez,
it was awful. But what I was going to say is that I saw quite a lot of people using yellow golf balls on Legends Tour. I think it's obviously something that is a bit of a thing out there, and you can see it. It makes sense if it helps you see the flight of the ball a that bit easier, especially in dappled sunlight this time of year when you play in kind of low level sun where the ball's coming in and out of tree lined areas. Then maybe a yellow golf ball is a good way to go. Most of the top brands offer golf balls that in their top ranges or across the ranges that are in different colors, so it's worth considering.
I played with a gentleman who used a gold golf ball. It was not made of gold. That would be insane. It was but gold finish, and that was the opposite effect. In leaves, gone. Not seeing that. You could barely see it on the green. You're like, where's that? Absolutely useless. But it looked pretty cool. I think it was a Vice ball. Classic Vice would obviously do that. You got matte finishes as well, matte colors that are super bright. Like you can get some matte green ones that are blinding, so you're not going to miss them.
My son loves those. Absolutely,
they're pretty cool.
Loves those.
I bet has he had some of the Marvel ones from Volvic, or they do them?
Yeah, we had
Classic
Black
golf
Panther,
ball.
I think, which was quite tricky to see.
Was that a blue and black one?
It was I think maybe it wasn't Black Panther, but it was purple.
Oh, okay. That you're struggling to see that.
But it was, he didn't care. It's just relying on me to see it.
Yeah, you got sharper eyes. Picks and Truviz from Callaway, TaylorMade and Callaway, respectively. There are the options. I've used Picks before. I really enjoyed that. But for someone who's watching now, right, who's got all these decisions in their head, and they've maybe got 4 or 5 golf balls they like the look of. Where do they go and how do you go and test? It'd be great to have a golf ball testing facility, wouldn't it, where you could like go and test the actual ball. Would you say to them maybe pick 3 or 4 models, maybe go and try and buy them in sleeves of 3 from your pro shop and go out and try them on course? That probably the most cost efficient, speedy way to go and try this thing? Because otherwise you're kind of going, I'll pick one and see how I get on for a while. What would you guys suggest?
Essentially, it's a fair point. It's difficult because you can't go to the driving range with your own golf balls.
That would be weird and expensive.
It would be expensive. Some people will have their own portable launch monitor, like you were mentioning earlier. If you have one of those, that can help you.
Hugely helpful.
I think the only way to really do it is on the golf course. Spend some time on the chipping green, practice putting green, and then pay attention to what the ball is doing when you hit it, particularly off the tee and second shots into the green. Are you getting good stopping power when you hit the ball into the green? Those sorts of things. I don't really see any particularly more accessible, easier way of doing it, unless anyone else can think of.
No. I think if I was doing it now, and maybe I will over the winter or something, is I'd kind of look at reviews online and see what people have said. Probably from the Golf Monthly website. That's where I would go. Whistle it down to a few. Go and buy 3 or 4, 3 of each ball, and then like you said, get out on course. But really don't just hit shots like you're playing normally. Oh, that was a good shot. Or that was a bad. Really pay attention to what's going on. I think that's the best way to do it if I was doing it now.
And I think if you had the opportunity on a quiet afternoon, you could take 2 golf balls and play 2 balls next to each other, head to head.
That would be great.
If you played that for 9 holes, you'd start to get a feel for which one is performing better in all areas.
And I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing and just buying random dozens every now and again. Or, as I have been doing most of my golf, like picking them out of bushes and just cleaning them up and going, yeah, that'll do. Which kind of ruins everything we've just spoken about, isn't it? But if you do that, I'm part of that club as well. It's all good.
We've all been there, Dan. We've all done it.
Yeah, right. When you find like a nice, I don't know, TP5 or a Pro V1, it's always got a little scratch, someone else's initials on it. It's only got one. It's like clearly been carved in there, like 3rd shot of the day.
Yeah, it's like I look at your golf ball and I say, Dan, you appear to be marking your ball with RS.
yeah.
From now on, why is that?
That's my alter ego. It's my golfing alter ego, mate. Yeah, don't worry about that. Definitely my ball. Brilliant. Well, I hope there's some useful advice there, but we'd love to hear from you guys on what kind of golf ball user you like me. Do you pick them out randomly? Or what other methods you have to maybe research those golf balls? Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Before we wrap up, we've got one more quiz question. I think we're bookending it with quiz questions. This is the hard one. Already embarrassed myself at the top of the video.
You could really pull it round here, Dan, if you get
True.
This is going to be tricky for both of you, I think, but we'll see. Right, I want you to, at the end of this, I'm going to blank out the last 2 words of the following sentence. It's actually 2 sentences. You need to complete it. Ready?
Yes.
Although manufacturers had experimented with metal heads in the past, the real breakthrough came in 1979. Club maker Gary Adams created a 12-degree cast stainless steel driver and called it TaylorMade, nicknamed what? 1979.
Gosh.
TaylorMade 12-degree cast stainless steel driver. What was it nicknamed? Became widely used, became adopted fairly widely, I think. Tour players quickly adopted it. And in 1981, Ron Streck was the first man to win with one of these in his golf bag. Metal drivers What do we think the nickname of this original metal driver was?
I can't even. Again,
That's a good one.
That's a really good question.
My historic driver knowledge probably isn't as good as it should be. I've got a few.
You've got to have a mad guess.
Chuck some ideas. Is it a name that's been used again by TaylorMade at some point to bring it back?
The quiz, or this is your quiz. This is not. You're not supposed to be quizzing me, Dan. I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, no, God, Joel, give us some funky ones.
All I've got is burner, but I don't think that's right.
That's not right. I'll give you this. I'll get what came before. So what came before metal woods? So it's a play on that.
Persimmon.
We're getting somewhere. You've gone from Arctic to sort of temperate.
Oh, I should know this. It's a play on persimmon.
Something persimmon. Club maker Gary Adams created a 12-degree stainless steel driver and called it TaylorMade, nicknamed something persimmon.
No, I've got nothing.
Will put us out of misery.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, would never have got that.
Pittsburgh persimmon.
And what's the story behind that?
Because that's where stainless steel, I think.
Hence the Pittsburgh Steelers, perhaps, as well, the football team. There we go. Well, God, you're really upping the quiz questions, Tappers. That was a good one, though. I like a bit of history as well. So I've learned something new there.
If you knew it, let us know in the comments.
I'll be honest here. So I did not know the answer to that until I researched it.
I'm sure there's some golf club historians watching that would have known that like that. I thought that was the easy one.
I was trying to get some info around original, the sort of first used metalwoods. So that's how it popped up to my radar.
Oh, well, a bit of club history for us all. I'm going to bounce back better next week with those answers. I think I'm going to I'll do some revising or something because that's 0 for 2 for me. That's not very good. Alas, we'll look forward to next week. But that will about wrap it up for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, any suggestions for equipment reviews you want to hear us talk about, or debate topics or discussions like we had today about golf balls, let us know down in those comments. We'd absolutely love to hear from you. But for now, that will do. Neil, thank you very much for joining us.
Pleasure. Enjoyed it.
Joel, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
And thank you very much for watching. We'll be back same time next week.